Hey guys, how you doing? I'm gonna be starting to stream here in just a minute. Let's call this the elections. Oh. All right, guys. I am starting to get into the world of Twitch and live streaming, and I wanted to just test this out for tonight. My broadcast should be visible on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Facebook. So the chat is open, so feel free to chat as well if you have any thoughts, questions, comments. I wanted to share my insights on really what's going on with the midterms. I'm actually pretty excited. I wouldn't have been a while ago, but seeing the enthusiasm from Democrats, I've been knocked close to 100 doors today, and just seeing the enthusiasm from folks has been really inspiring. I have seen young people, senior citizens, Republicans saying, I'm voting blue, Republicans saying, I voted blue for the first time. And while it's encouraging, I'm not going to breathe easy until we actually see the results. Look, we could very well lose the House and the Senate if we don't take this seriously. We could very well be sitting there Wednesday morning looking down the short end of a long 2 years of a lame duck president if we don't get the support we need from the House and the Senate. And so that's why I'm just emphasizing how critical it is that we not only vote ourselves, but just make sure everyone in our circle, everyone in our network, everyone you can possibly think of is going to vote. Look, and I'm saying this as a Democrat. I'm saying this as somebody who is a little bit frustrated with, a little bit is the wrong word, a lot of bit frustrated with the nonsense we're seeing with the filibuster and how many amazing pieces of legislation were killed because of the filibuster. I get it. It's enraging, it's infuriating, and I wish there was an easy solution to it. And I mean, the solution really is get rid of the filibuster. And short of that, the solution is elect 2 more Democratic senators so that we can pass the legislation that we need to pass. And, you know, the nice thing is that's absolutely possible here in the next 48 hours. Everything we're talking about, guaranteed childcare, guaranteed paid family leave, subsidizing college education, getting insulin down to $35. All these major things that we're talking about, these major reforms we're talking about, raising the living wage to at least $15 an hour or more, making these corporate taxes of at least 15%, making it permanent so that the GOP can't repeal it. All of this stuff is completely within our grasp if we make sure we actually vote during this midterm election. And I've been critical of President Biden on a lot of things, and that's because my standard is justice. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not going to sit here and just pretend that Democrats can do no wrong. I think that's how Republicans got in trouble or have stayed in trouble by voting red no matter what or how horrific the policies were. So, Allison, yeah, I agree with you. The filibuster needs to go, and I'd like to see term limits too. Absolutely would love to see term limits. And so the point I'm making is while I'm critical of President Biden, I also give credit where due. He's done a lot of good things for the economy, record job creation, broadband. I don't think people realize how significant the broadband bill has been. The infrastructure bill included $65 billion for broadband internet. And this is such a boring topic for a lot of people. Like, oh, it's broadband. What a big deal. I can get internet wherever I want. Look, I run for Congress in a rural district, and I can't tell you how important that is. Without broadband internet, kids can't get homework done. They can't do school. Kids can't, women who need healthcare access, senior citizens who need healthcare access. I'm talking about pregnant women can't get basic healthcare access. Farmers can't get the data they need for crop cycles. Imagine being a small business owner and not being able to get on the internet. It's a huge boost to rural America. And this is such a big win that I'm just blown away that the Democratic Party isn't advertising the hell out of this thing every single second that they get. I mean, this should be part of every single advertisement, that because of us, now your kids can go to school. Because of us, now you can do telehealth. Because of us, your farmers can actually have a consistent crop planting cycle. Because of us, you can start a small business in rural parts of the country. I talked to people who said, look, I'm a person of means, I make pretty good money, and I'm spending $2,000 a month to get broadband internet access. And AT&T told me that if I spend $100,000, they'll build out the final 100 meters to get to me, which is just out of this world. And obviously no one's going to pay $100,000 for that. But now with the $65 billion investment in broadband, guess what? Now they'll have that. And rather than making sure that everyone knows Democrats did this because Republicans unanimously voted against it, we're missing that huge opportunity. Now, I will say that I'm happy that the White House is calling out Republicans who voted no but then took the dough. I love that phrase. I think it's something that we need to be more adamant about. President Biden has also done great things on just the overall infrastructure. Obviously, our infrastructure was a D-. It's one of the worst in the developed world. But I think we obviously need to do more. And there's so many more bills that were stripped away. One of the biggest painful things about these past 2 years was the fact that because of people like Manchin and Sinema, the child tax credit expired. This act, I don't think people realize, decreased child poverty by 30%. And the fact that it was allowed to expire is an absolute abomination. 30% it decreased child poverty, but now kids are going hungry again because these reckless centrist Democrats like Manchin and Sinema thought it was more important to preserve some silly filibuster, Jim Crow, white supremacist rule than actually make sure kids weren't going hungry. It's disgusting. And Democrats who didn't call them out, I think they are doing us a disservice as well, because that kind of injustice needs to be condemned publicly. All right, Afzal asks, any thoughts on Elon's acquisition of Twitter and the free speech, particularly in the grand scheme of elections and related fake news? I just sent this to a friend of mine, these 3 tweets from Elon. The first one from January 2021, where he says, legalize comedy. And then on October 28th, 2022, comedy is now legal on Twitter. This is right after he bought it. And then earlier today, going forward, any Twitter handles engaging in impersonation without clearly specifying parody will be permanently suspended. He's suspended now several major people who have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of followers. So I think that it's a disaster waiting to happen. Look, I love Twitter. I think it's an awesome tool. People call it a hellscape. I think that it can be, but overall, I think it's done some really, really good things. It's allowed professionals to connect. It's allowed people to have a voice. It's been huge for people with disabilities. It's just been an amazing tool. And this whole verification thing that he's forcing it's terrible. I mean, verification, the whole point of it is exactly what he's complaining about. It's supposed to be to verify someone's authenticity and validity. And now it's verification of whether you can afford $8 a month or not. It's absurd. It's nonsensical. And I hope it does not end up ruining Twitter. It already has. I mean, I'm seeing some massive uptick of nasty comments and hate comments, and I've lost like 6,000 followers. I don't really care about that part so much. I mean, if they're bots or trolls, I don't care. I think part of it is people are jumping ship. I have accounts on on Mastodon, on Tribal Social, on Social Current, on a couple other platforms as well. Obviously, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and in future streams, I'm going to have all that stuff up on the side. This is kind of the first one. I'm getting used to this, but I'm worried about the impact Twitter is going to have on small businesses, on people who use it as a voice, and that's what I'm hopeful that it won't resort to that, but I'm already seeing it has, and that's problematic. Ethan asks, I wish Democrats did a better job at championing their successes too. Most people are just too caught up in the daily lives to know this stuff. Yeah, you're right. And this is where people complain that Democrats suck at messaging. And, look, I think that's partly true, but I also want to point out Democrats, progressives, we have a more difficult job in messaging, period. Because human beings by nature are hesitant to change. I'm probably trying to think of the right word. When you're comfortable, when you're in a routine, especially if you're comfortable, you don't want to change. It's, it's uncomfortable, right? And this is why Dr. King talked about, we need to comfort the afflicted and bring discomfort to the comfortable. And part of what our messaging needs to do is to show people how what they perceive as comfort is actually an injustice, and it's better if they do change, and the long-term benefit is better. So that's where, when we get into like policy arguments, and there was a politician talking about what subcommittees they sat on while talking to first-time voters. They don't care about subcommittees. They don't understand what a subcommittee is. It's the silliest thing in the world. You need to talk to them about what you're going to do on an economic basis. How are you going to put more money in their pocket? How are you going to make sure their groceries are cheaper? How are you going to make sure that the gas in their tank is cheaper, or that the electric cars we're talking about are actually going to save them money and save the climate? These are all things that I think too many politicians get away from, and it hurts them. And this is where organizing is so critical and so important. This is why, for me, this kind of advocacy is such a critical part of what I do. I mean, knocking doors is, in my view, one of the most critical things that anyone running for office or anyone who has aspirations of making a meaningful change in their community should be doing, because that is how you connect with people on a personal basis, how you learn about them, learn about their needs, their desires on a very personal basis. So that's going to be my commitment. Look, guys, I just wanted to jump on for a few minutes just to kind of get a hang of this. If you are watching this and you're on Twitch, I'm at Qasim Rashid on Twitch as well, so you can follow me on there, and hopefully we can be more consistent about this. I would love to be in a place where I'm able to stream on a daily basis. Especially, I'm going to be streaming more regularly on election night. I'm going to try to get started here a little bit early on election night, and then kind of walk through what's happening and see what's going on, and provide my live commentary, try to get some folks to call in and share their insights as well. But, I'm easy to find across social media, just at my name, Qasim Rashid, across all handles. And keep me posted on what's important to you guys. I should mention I am managing the campaign of Dr. Benny White, who is running for mayor of Naperville. We've never had a Democrat elected in Naperville. It's the third largest city in Illinois. It is a city that has voted Democratic for decades. I mean, we're talking 60% or more on the midterm and presidential level, but they've only ever had Republican mayors. They've had 16 white male Republican mayors and one white female, and never had a Democratic mayor, never had a person of color as mayor, certainly never had a black person as mayor. And so I'm managing the campaign for Dr. Benny White. And check him out at bennywhite.org. We're going to win this because we're going to be focused on the people and run an honest, dignified, compassionate campaign. Catherine, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that immensely. Look, again, if you understand one thing from me, please, please, please vote. Don't let the naysayers convince you not to. You need to vote. You need to be involved. You need to be engaged. Our democracy literally depends on it. And don't just vote for the president and vice president and Congress. Vote at your local elections. That is so, so critical. Vote in your local elections. I would argue it's in many ways even more important, because your local elections are the ones that decide your local taxes. They decide whether your local streetlights are working. They decide whether that pothole gets fixed. They decide what's going on in your schools, what's going on in your local businesses. So please, please, please vote in your local elections. The last stat I'll leave you with is the runoff rate. For Republicans, 80% will vote all the way through their ballot. For Democrats, it's only 37%. And so that's shocking, because that means that on the local levels, Republicans are voting just that much more than Democrats, and we're getting killed. Even in places where we're super blue, like Naperville, we're not voting locally, and we're just getting killed. Rachel, Todd, thank you. Love your kind words. Grateful for it. And expect more of these live streams. I want to find a way to stay connected with folks and make sure we're putting positive content out there in response to all the negative garbage that we're seeing. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back. I'm going to try to find a regular time, and that way you can set it to your clocks as well if you so too want to tune in. But in the meantime, I'm at Qasim Rashid across all platforms. It's my website as well. You can email me from there. Make sure you sign up on my email list. We'll be sending those out regularly too.